Alright everybody, how's it going? Hope you guys liked the other video that I made, that last video. So why did I start getting more motivated, or what really caused me to not feel too anxious or too depressed? Honestly, it all started, I'm not gonna lie, back a decade ago, back in 2016, 2017. Like I said, I used to be this overweight dude. I didn't care about myself as much as, in high school, no girl ever noticed my existence. Even after graduating college, either way, I was always not. I didn't consider myself overweight in high school because I did, the gym. I did which is quite sad. My parent, due to the religion and their strict rules, I wasn't allowed to participate in after school activities such as sports. Apparently for this religion, competition was considered a little bit of the devil, which like I said, I have to make a video, but I don't feel like making that specific video. Maybe if more subscriptions, or if I get more views, I'll make it. But anyway, after graduating high school, I left a little bit with some gain, like from my freshman year and sophomore year. I was pretty much in shape. I was, the gym was pretty fun. They allowed us, because we had these specific, gold days and red days, where one day it was these, 4 classes, and the other day was other 4 classes. So if you guys can imagine, for straight 2 years, we had like almost 2 hours of gym. So I remember we would do the regular curriculum activities at the gym, such as practice a sport, participate, and after that, if there was free time, we all did our activities. And obviously, I grew up as a Latino. Your soccer is basically the most predominant sport we're going to really, that really connects us all. So I remember I always had a fascination with soccer. I always wanted to play soccer because that was the sport that was popular around my surroundings. And it was quite sad. I would do, I used to play with passion, and a lot of individuals didn't quite understand, when you're so restricted and deprived, you just have that hunger. So I remember, I would play hardcore, even though it was just a gym, but that's how I was maintaining a good weight, because for straight 2 years, the gyms were 2 hours, so that really helped me to keep in shape. Then fast forward to the junior year and sophomore year, the government of the state decided to take those days off. He wanted all high schools to have a 7 period, so it was reduced. Basically, it was just an hour of every class. So gym was very, the hours were reduced, so we couldn't do much, but we couldn't do a lot. Just the curriculum activities, and that was about it. And then I joined academics. I did an academic trade, so I didn't have a gym for basically almost a year. And these are weird times. I remember one of the trades, it was learning how to code and learning how to operate machines. And I remember each time we would go out and get some breakfast. So basically, you can imagine it's like a factory. You have the shittiest or the crappiest foods available. You have your cookies, your hot chocolate, your burgers, cheeseburgers, whatever. That's how I started to gain, a little bit of weight, not as much. And then after graduating, I lived with a little bit of a belly gut. I'm not gonna lie, because I started to get very depressed. I started to get very frustrated with life. As I never got the girl, I never got the crush. I just was really, nobody knew I even existed, and my social group started to get very small. And one of my buddies ended up moving away, and I was I only had 2 left, 2 buddies over, and I was kind of I was, and at the same time, I didn't have very good teenage years. The religion was a total pain in the ass, and I had very strict parents. So I was kind of getting very depressed, very cruel. I'm not gonna lie, I was missing out on so much, and I grew up with this hunger, so food became my coping mechanism. And when I graduated, I left with the beer gut. I started working, and since I was so depressed, so unmotivated, I just participated in college because I just wanted to be a people pleaser, because I wanted to make my parents proud. So I ended up choosing a BS career, So this was my life for straight 2 years. It was going to school. It was going to school in the morning, coming home, work, and if I didn't have any specific assignments, I would just stick to video games. That was pretty much my only way out of the little depression. And so, fast forwarded to half of my 22nd birthday. I was just working hardcore. I was working 40 hours. I was making a little bit of money. And I wanted to travel the world, and I started to get a little bit of motivation as little by little we started leaving the religion. We started leaving that conservative lifestyle that kept us all depressed, and that's how we started to really, as a family, leave that organization. We noticed it was just a mind control organization, and for me, I was going to be traveling. That was the beginning of my journey of the travel career that I was developing. But I was overweight. I didn't like how I looked, so I decided to join the MMA, and I found this MMA studio very close from my house. They had a free class. I checked it out. I liked it. You go in, you might feel a little bit nervous or a little bit timid because you don't know what you're doing, and the other people are in shape. Specifically, you see the other girls are watching you, whatever. But honestly, MMA girls they don't really care. Sometimes they're more masculine than the men. So I started. I noticed it was Muay Thai and mixed with BJJ and boxing, and I liked it. It was like $100 a month, and I decided, screw it. If it means something for my mental health and my physique, screw it. I'll pay the $100, and that's how I did it. And that's how I started to really, get that confidence. Because obviously I had no confidence at all. I was very low self-esteem, very timid. I was so depressed. Depression is something very serious. People that never really experience this don't understand how it's hard for us to really get motivated. Because not only you have depression, you're like low self-confidence, you have no self-esteem. And here's the thing, people like to call you lazy, but when you're depressed, you just give up. It's like you're not functional. Your body, or it's like your mind is not in reality. You're just living this like, it's like you don't even care between death or depression. Death, might be the way out, but anyway. So I end up joining the MMA program. In 4 months, I lost like 20 pounds, and by the summertime of the next year, because it was in 2016, I believe, in 2017, I went from 180 to 155. I was in the best shape of my life, and twice I went to the gym, even though I still didn't know how to really use the barbells I know how to do proper simple stuff, but I didn't know how to do the other. Then I went back to university. I was trying to accomplish a career, but after I left the religion, I kind of needed to restart my life, and I noticed I made a huge mistake by choosing the wrong career. That was nothing compared to what I wanted. So I decided, now I'm out of the religion. I'm not a people pleaser. I started to really develop a better character, because honestly, going to the gym, going to MMA did help me gain that self-confidence. I started losing a lot of that scarcity, because you start adapting to new stuff. And I decided, okay, I'm gonna work for straight 2 years. But sadly, that pandemic came, kind of put everything down, and that kind of restarted my depression mode. But in 2021, I believe, well, actually no, in 2020, that's when I started to really acknowledge my presence, and I wasn't happy at all. Like, I was working, like I did a good job, staying at the same job ever since I graduated high school, because that was the job that I already applied before graduating, and it allowed me to build a salary. And by this time, I only went to 3 countries in Europe, and I wanted to continue the activity. That's how I started to really motivate. That's how I started to become more productive. What I ended up doing, I started adapting reading. I got more books. I started to not get into the video games. I took video games out of my life for a bit. So I never bought like the PS4 until it was like cheap, and then the PS5 as well. Because honestly, I didn't need no distraction. So I postponed the career, tried to make up my mind. I saved money in the pandemic because I was still working, and then when restrictions started again, opening up, I was overweight again. Like from 2020, like December of 2019 through 2020 of August, I got depressed again because lockdown did affect everybody. And I remember, like, I wasn't working out, I was just reading, but in reality, it didn't help me at all. Like, I don't know what was going on with me. So, unfortunately, I gained some weight again. I was back to 180 and I had to restart everything. But I was so frustrated, like, I just wanted to give up and continue the coping mechanism, but I decided not to. I was still young and I got into, a CrossFit gym. Then I learned how to use the barbell, how to use the dumbbells. I started feeling a lot motivated, and I kind of found out CrossFit or like weightlifting was really what suited me because that's where I got the best strength and the best. Well, honestly, CrossFit doesn't make you strong, but it does give you that momentum of high intensity cardio. And I started doing my own thing. I started studying a little bit of weight training, and so for the rest of 2020 through 2021, I did like the 6 days with the CrossFit, lost all the weight, and then that's how I started to reintegrate like regular gyms. So I can work on some muscles, and I went back to Muay Thai and boxing. That's how I started to really feel. I feel like better than ever before because I lost. Not only I lost the weight, I started to get more toned. I got the abs. I got the facial structure, the cheeks and everything. Did it give me the girls that I wanted? No, unfortunately not, because it doesn't matter what you do. But it allowed me to have a mentality. I started reading a lot more. Right now I'm getting into philosophy, but I started like reading, and I started to really know who I was, and I started working more. Even though work can be quite devastating, but for me, work is make money and continue on. And like the videos that you saw in my short, those are my previous trips that I went to Europe, and that's how I started to be more productive, be more emotionally independent. Like I'm busy now. Like what I do now is I go to work in the morning, I come back, I eat, and I work out. I go because I work an odd job. I work for a family member, and I have my 40-hour job. Now like I was saying in the last video, continue my education or my higher education. I know what I want. So this is my routine. Like I said in the other video, it's CrossFit like 3 or 2 days a week, a regular gym, and Muay Thai and boxing. I keep myself occupied, and sometimes I include dancing, just so I can at least feel like I'm associating myself with a group, even though I don't really speak to them. But it does get you that extra motivation or that extra self confidence. Because sometimes you meet random people, you start knowing. Honestly, this is not very black pill, but in reality, women are going to be women always. Don't get me wrong. Women, I already know their true psychology, but the reason I'm making this video is to help you guys how to really start getting up. I think if you guys choose a specific sports that might interest you, that's the best way to lose weight, and that's how you can regain your confidence. And don't worry about ever achieving a girl. Why? Because girls are always going to be that typical individual that prefers looks over personality. Like I said, men and women think differently. Women are smarter than men in some other fields, and men are smarter than girls in other fields. That's how we were built. This is why I don't have any hatred for women anymore. That's their nature, and it is what it is. So that's another video that I wanted to make. I don't know if it can help anybody. And when it comes to your diet, you don't have to be super strict. Like I said, you can start little by little. Exclude soft drinks, exclude sugary coffee, stick to black coffee and water. Then you can you can start in the morning by eating 2 eggs, oatmeal and fruit, or you can do steak and eggs and fruit. Like it's a very good way to start getting used to a specific diet, and you start including what I do in the mornings is just eggs, fruit, or oatmeal at times. And lunch or dinner, you can do steak, roast chicken, salmon, tuna. Stick to those, and you start really understanding, or you're not understanding, you start adjusting to that specific diet. Once you do it for like a month and a half, you notice the results. Not only you lose a little bit of cravings for fast food, but you notice how your body feels. Your body, when you eat fast food, does feel very crappy because you're inflated. All that sugar, all that processed, you're not getting all the nutrients. When you do steak, breast chicken, tuna, salmon, you do a little bit of vitamins, you do a little bit of protein. I do natural proteins. I don't really do the supplements. Fruit, eggs, or steak and eggs in the morning. You feel the difference. Trust me. Probably in another year, I can give you some specific, diet. I'm not here to sell anything. So honestly, I'm not even doing this for money. To be quite honest, it's just a hobby. I already have my job, so maybe if I can get, if I end up graduating from this specific trade, I can include more other things. But right now, I only have very limited information. But I am improving. I am learning more. So that's basically this video for today. It's just to tell you guys, pick a specific sports, or you don't have a specific sports. I feel like everybody's into the UFC or boxing, whatever. Go to those type of gyms. Even though you're shy at everything, nobody cares in there. A lot of men, we're more supported in when it comes to specific sports compared to women. So try it out, guys. Let me know if you guys end up going. Let me know how it is, and see you on the next one. Peace out.